What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Philly Blitz Pod number 135. I can't think of a 35 off the top of my head.
Boston Scott, bro.
Huh? Oh, Boston
Boston
Scott.
Scott.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I was definitely going to give him the cop out and be like, "Oh, the Nelson Aguilar, Donovan McNabb podcast."
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go with Boston Scott because the vibes could not be worse with the Nelson and Donovan podcast. But
Brother, have you watched
Number
maybe we should go with that one.
number five will always love you.
Oh my God,
We're in shambles, dude. We're talking about Donovan McNabb on an Eagles podcast in 2025, almost 26. But we have a very special guest here for the Eagles pod against the Chargers. We have Alex Katson here with us, with me, Parth, Pierre, and Quell. How are all you guys doing today?
It's been a long week, bro. It's been a very, very, very long week. That coupled with the Eagles and the last two games. We need to get back on the right side of history, man.
What about you, or Quell? Yeah, go ahead.
Dub to those who celebrate. It is I, the one and only Marquell Fripp Owens. As you can see, the bags are under my eyes. My son keeps rolling over my head at 4:30 in the morning because he's woke. I got to get up for work in the morning. And, Brian Hartline just took a job in South Florida. So now everything and everyone is in shambles. I'm okay, though. I'm okay. How about you, Alex?
Doing well, about as well as you could hope for, given the way that the Charger season has gone. But, the college team that I cover signed their best recruiting class in school history yesterday, so can't complain too much about that. But yeah, just trying to get through the week. We take it 1 week at a time with anytime you're talking about the Chargers. So just trying to keep that in mind.
So before we usually start with the injury report, but I must ask you before we get to the injury report, are you guys cursed?
It seems like it.
Why is everybody always hurt?
I think that it probably is a curse at this point. I mean, this season has just been like a lot of fluke injuries, so it does seem like it's a curse because it's not like it's a bunch of soft tissue stuff. I mean, Joe Alt has a high ankle sprain. Rashawn Slater tore a tendon in his knee. Omarion Hampton broke his ankle. Justin Herbert broke his hand. Khalil Mack broke his elbow. Like all of those are non-soft tissue injuries. Yeah. It's not like it's a training staff problem. So I think the logical conclusion is that they are cursed.
I mean, you just went through all the breaks. You don't see that many breaks in football like that. Like there's always, like the hamstring pulls like you see on the Eagles and some of those, or you have like 4 guys with broken bones on your team. That's crazy. That sucks, man. It really sucks.
It's like this every year, man. I don't understand it.
Yeah. My buddy's a Chargers fan. He's always just miserable at all times. He's like, dude, I don't know what I did. He was so happy at the beginning of this year. He's like, Justin's got 2 tackles. It's time. It's time. And inevitably, then it was Alt who came back, right? Alt comes back and then he gets injured again. Yep. Like just. Yep. You can't win. I sympathize with you guys, man. I really sympathize.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
It's brutal.
Is this the same training staff that I think punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung?
No. So Jim Harbaugh brought his training staff with him from Michigan. Okay. So it's a new training staff. It's a new strength staff, but cursed nonetheless.
Oh yeah, I get it. They're cursed and cheaters. That makes a whole lot of sense.
All right. Well, we were talking about it before the pod, and I was giving Alex the rundown of the pod. And as usual, I forgot about injuries. So before I forget again, Pierre, you want to give us a rundown? Alex already gave us some of their injury report right there. But, I guess knowing the Chargers and, with the Eagles this week, I'm sure there's some additions there as well.
Yeah, it's 2 big ones to monitor from both sides. First, for the Chargers, the big one is Justin Herbert, fractured left hand. He underwent surgery this week. He was limited today on Thursday, but the thought is that he's going to play, but we'll see. Amari Hampton, he's expected to be back. Like you outlined, Alex, he had a fractured ankle, but he was limited today. But like I said, he's expected to be back this week. And then starting defensive tackle, Deshaun Hand, he was limited with some sort of illness. Starting left tackle, Jamari Sawyer, he was limited with the shoulder. And then starting wide receiver, Quentin Johnston, he was also limited with the shoulder. On the Eagles front, big news today. Jalen Carter, he's going to be out a few weeks. He had a procedure, and they made sure to specify it was a procedure, not surgery, on both of his shoulders. I'm not sure what that entailed, but
one, but two.
Yeah, both shoulders. Anytime you see both shoulders, I don't think that's a good thing.
Not great. Dude.
Elsewhere, Zach Bond, he was limited with the hand injury. Something interesting that I saw, Jalen Phillips, he actually suffered a concussion on Black Friday versus the Bears, so I imagine he's in concussion protocol, but he was limited today, so he did practice. So I guess that's a good sign for his availability.
That means he's trending towards playing if he practiced.
Yeah, and then Jahan Dotson, he was limited with a toe injury. So that's it on the injuries front.
It's you know, the mental image I have with Jalen Carter getting surgery on both shoulders is like him in one of those casts.
Not surgery.
Right, procedures. It's him in one of those casts where they got like both of his arms out and he can't like get through doors. He has to go through doors sideways because his arms are out too high.
You know what that just reminded me of?
The SpongeBob.
No. You know the Michael Penix photo with both his legs.
The upper body version of that is basically how I'm feeling, dude. I saw that. That was this morning, right? They announced it, or was it yesterday? It's all blending together.
It was this morning.
It was this morning, and I see that, and I'm like, okay. I see shoulder. I saw whatever procedure. I see shoulder procedure. Then I did a double take, and I was like, oh my god, it says both, dude. It says both. Like, Quell said in the chat, glad he's getting it done now. Hopefully he'll be good by the playoffs. He kind of needed to get it done, clean up some.
He's been not himself this year.
Definitely. That's to say the least. But
yeah, I saw from one of the I don't know what to call them. I guess Twitter
doctors.
Yeah, didn't they say it was like some type of injection or shot or something?
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well.
Yeah,
interesting. I don't know the intricacies of it. Regardless, just hoping he gets back. But we can use this as a segue into talking about Eagles defense versus the Chargers offense, because even though Jalen Carter hasn't been in prime Jalen Carter form, he's still been impactful on the defense. He's been a central focal point of the defensive line, and things rotate around him. So it's definitely going to be an adjustment to not have him. So you imagine an uptick in snaps for guys like Morrow and guys like Jordan Davis. That's the benefit of having a lot of guys on the defensive line and having them on your roster. But those guys are going to be important this week, regardless of who the quarterback is for the Chargers. Clearly, the weak point on that offense is the offensive line, and so you need to find a way to capitalize on those injuries that the Chargers have all across their offensive line. So. Given how they were out physical on Friday, I would hope that this team comes, with the chip on their shoulder, because this is a Harbaugh coach team. Like they might not have all the players, but they're going to be playing physical. So you really have to come ready to contest. What are you guys feeling? I mean, that's just one part, but how are we feeling overall?
This is going to be an interesting game, man, especially coming off what we seen from the Eagles defense last week and how they just got demoralized and ran through and over in every way, shape, or form by that Chicago Bears offensive line in their run game. I believe they said 2 rushers over 125 yards, so got to get that figured out. Well, comes to town Jim Harbaugh coach team, which historically they're going to run the ball right at your face. I'm sure we can all see the Marshawn Lynch video right now. We all know it. We all love it. But then when you look at this Chargers team this year, which, I mean, it's the funny part, especially considering all the things we just talked about with the offensive tackles being hurt and all that, they actually throw the ball at a much higher clip than you would expect. I mean, of course, you got Justin Herbert, who he has – of course, the broken hand that you mentioned, but 8 interceptions and has thrown interceptions in 8 of the last 10 games. It's something to keep an eye on for this Philadelphia defense. So I'm intrigued how this matchup could work.
Yeah, it can go either way depending on who the quarterback is going to be, and Chargers have a stable of certain receivers. You've seen growth from guys, and you can put it that way. And Ladd McConkey has been as prolific of a route runner as he's ever been. He's his stuff is like teaching tape, but it's also not, because people aren't as quick as he is, and it's just like, dude, you can't get off as many moves as he does, and he's able to do it, dude. He's done it since Georgia. I've watched it far too often, but that kid is really good. Quentin Johnson has beaten the TCU receiver allegations.
He ain't beat him yet. He's just having.
He's been better. He's been better.
Can call it what it is.
He's been better. I was impressed to see him catching more with his hands this year, as opposed to, let's just put it this way, Quell. You haven't seen the low lights as often of the ball just bouncing off of his hands or off his chest, because he won't catch it with his hands. So, you have some guys there, and given how guys have been able to do kind of whatever they want on the field side with Adoree', I don't know. I definitely do worry about that side, and given that the Eagles defense is also still going to be missing Makuba, do we think Epps is going to get more reps this week?
Yes.
He's got to.
He has to. Sidney Brown cannot start another game for this defense, bro.
That's about.
Put him back on special teams, please.
And even on special teams, don't be stupid, dude.
Flying knee.
That was hilarious. That was objectively hilarious. That was unbelievable. But Alex, I know we've talked a lot here, but how are you feeling about the Chargers offense going up against the Eagles defense, which not as many injuries as the Chargers have, but definitely not to full strength. So how are you feeling, both with Justin or with Trey, and, the kind of approach you think is going to be coming at us?
Yeah, I do think that Justin will probably end up being able to play. He said that that's the plan. The Chargers have said that that's the plan. He was wearing a pretty bulky glove at practice today, but it sounds like he's going to make it work. It does probably mean that they're going to have to operate mostly or exclusively out of shotgun, which is not exactly what a Jim Harbaugh team likes to do always, but also, we are, as much as like the Jalen Carter injury impacts, the way that the Chargers might be able to run the ball in this game, we're also due for a bad Chargers run game performance. Pretty much the whole season, every other week, they've they've had a rusher go over 100 yards. And then the next week they have the leading rusher is either Justin Herbert or a running back goes for like 20 yards. So they're due for a bad performance this week because Kamani Vidal ran for 126 last week against the Raiders. If Marion Hampton comes back, I do think that like he will get the bulk of the carries if he's back. Like Vidal, I think has earned the opportunity so far, but Qual mentioned, the Bears had 2 rushers over 125 yards last week. The Chargers have 2 rushers on the roster currently healthy because Marion Hampton and Hassan Haskins are both on injured reserve. So if they manage to do that against the Chargers also, I think that would be a miracle because you're talking about right now, at least as of Thursday, before Hampton and Haskins get activated, you're talking about that would have to be Kamani Vidal and Jarrett Patterson going for 125.
Hey, Jarrett Patterson had a career high last week.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, you can't ignore that Jarrett Patterson once had 7 touchdowns in a game at Buffalo. You simply have to take that into consideration. But yeah,
Sorry, I was saying, QQ, whose side are you on? You're cheering for him to score 7 touchdowns on us here?
No. I'm just saying anything's possible with the way this Eagles defense has been playing in the last 7 days.
Very true. Very true.
So for Kamani Vidal, he stepped up a lot in the wake of Marion Hampton and Najee Harris's injuries. Even with the subpar year from the Chargers O-line, like we've outlined, I know like a lot of his success has kind of come on runs that have been outside the tackles. Per PFF, when running off tackle this season, the Chargers ran for 495 yards. That's 5.5 yards per attempt, and 28 first downs. So how do you think he's been able to kind of have that level of success?
Yeah, so Kamani is a really interesting player because, this is a guy that wasn't even on the 53-man to start the season. And really most of the reason that he did not make the roster is because of special teams. Hassan Haskins is a better special teams player than he is. but also because the way that he wins as a back is not exactly perfectly attuned to what the Chargers want to do in terms of like, we've talked about it a couple of times already, right? Of like, it's a Jim Harbaugh team. They want to run the ball up the middle, bring the fullback in, have that like 13 personnel and, run the ball just like right up the middle. The Chargers can't really do that because the interior offensive line is probably the worst in the league still, even with Zion Johnson playing better this season. Mekhi Becton starting to kind of get into a rhythm a little bit. And so really the Chargers have been at their best this season when they have been able to get outside the tackles because both Hampton and Vidal are dynamic enough players in space that they can force their own missed tackles. So, like if the blocking does not hold up when you're running the ball up the middle, there's only so many places for you to go because there's defenders all around you. If you get to the outside, you can break some of those tackles yourself and then make some space for yourself and create a little bit more. And so I do think that's also kind of contributed to kind of the hot and cold nature of Vidal's stat lines since Hampton has gone out in terms of, 1 week, you are going up against a defense that maybe doesn't tackle as well. And so Vidal is able to kind of shake out of some of those tackles a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And then the next week, a team really drills like, okay, we have to really focus on like all rallying the ball, make like strong tackles and do everything. And then at that point, right, like Kamani Vidal is 5'8", 210 pounds, right? Like he's not going to be able to run through those kinds of plays. But yeah, I've always like really liked the way that they've gotten him integrated, even back to his rookie season last year. Like typically last season when Kamani Vidal was on the field, they either ran toss or they ran a wheel route to him, to try to get him onto the perimeters. That was their kind of change of pace with Austin Eckler not really a factor with him in Washington last season. And so, that was kind of like what they tried to do a little bit more. During the preseason, they did that too, but then like it was really just like he has to prove it between the tackles in order to be an NFL back, and he started to do that finally now, and we're getting into that part of it where he's just like adjusting to NFL game speed a lot better, and so he's able to kind of make some of those guys miss in the hole between the tackles. But then also, like with Jamari Sawyer at left tackle, like you have a lot better vertical run blocking out of the tackle spot than you had with Austin Deculus or Trevor Penning starting. Those guys are a little bit better, like getting on the move to the outside. So like a few weeks ago when Deculus started, Vidal had a 100-yard game, and it was mostly just like they kept spamming outside zone to the left. And just like Austin Deculus would get out and he'd make a block on a linebacker, and then Kamani Vidal has 6 yards of space before anyone even touches him. With Sawyer in the lineup, it's a lot more of like, okay, we're going to run, inside zone left, right, and get Sawyer and Zion Johnson kind of like on those combo blocks and moving vertically and getting to linebackers that way, and then having Vidal kind of wiggle out of tackles and be able to go either way instead of being limited to sort of just like you're on the sideline at that point.
Definitely, man. So that's kind of, when I watched the Chargers, that's kind of exactly what I got from it, where they want to get your duos and things of that nature. And at least when they work on their under center run game, you talked about how there's been a lot of pitch. Pierre, you talked about the work that they've done off tackle. I believe they have a 13.3 explosive run rate off tackle. Well, when you talk about them under center, well, not under center, but through between the tackles is when things get a little more interesting. I believe they rank 28th in yards per carry between the tackles. So as Omarion Hampton returns, how do you think that he improves how the team can and should be able to run between the tackles, or do you think it's the interior of that offensive line is just too damning of an issue where their best bet is to continue running outside?
I think that Hampton will definitely improve that problem because he's so much bigger than both Vidal and Patterson are, and so he should be able to give you more kind of physical presence on the interior that way. But also, like, it's the same thing, right? Like, Hampton is kind of in the same boat as his rookie classmate, Ashton Genty with the Raiders, right? Where it's like, you can be as great as you want at breaking tackles, but if all three of your interior offensive linemen miss a block and there's 4 guys in the defensive backfield, you're only going to get so far, right? But the nice thing about Hampton, too, is that he's also a very proficient runner outside of the tackles. And so they'll still be able to tap into that part of the game with him back. And so I do think it'll definitely improve the floor of, like, you know, if they run dive, maybe they're getting 3-4 yards a carry instead of 1 or 2 yards a carry that they've been getting with Vidal against more physical defenses. But also, like, they'll still be able to get into some of that outside run game because Hampton is also a very dynamic player in space.
So,
if I was the Chargers, I wouldn't even try to change that. The Eagles have been gashed on outside zone this year. I mean, it's just been impossible for them to stop. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. especially against this Eagles defense the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks. You had something to say, Quo?
Yeah, I was going to basically say the same thing, how outside zone has been giving them fits. Now, I mean, I hope Eagles fans can temper their expectations a bit. I hope you don't expect to get just absolutely gashed the same way you did last week. I mean, we talked about it on the review pod the other day about how a lot of the success that the Bears had came down to Ben Johnson manipulating angles and bringing in extra blockers, just the little nuanced things to help them win the numbers and help them to win the line of scrimmage. Whereas versus this Chargers team, I don't think you will see much. I mean, you guys know we've been making the joke for years that what you see is what you get out of a Greg Roman offense. Mm-hmm. So I think the Eagles defense should be able to be a little better against the run this week. It just ultimately comes down to how they kind of set the edge and manage the outside like you guys have outlined. Now, one other thing that has stuck out to me about this Chargers team is their efficiency on third down. Second best third down team in the NFL at 48%. And tell me about it. A lot of that starts with a guy in Keenan Allen who I think he leads the NFL in third down receptions. So tell me, when it comes down to this Chargers passing game, how are these targets distributed, man? It seemed like it was a Quentin Johnson year early, and then Keenan Allen had his fun, and now it's like the Ladd McConkey show. So how's the passes distributed?
Yeah, so as of last week, the Chargers were the only team in the NFL with 4 receivers over, I think it was 25 receptions, 500 yards or 300 yards maybe, and 2 touchdowns between McConkey, Allen, Johnston, and tight end Deronde Gadsden. So it's very well distributed. Keenan at this point basically is only playing on third down because his body just is not equipped to play.
His shoulders are
anymore.
crazy. His shoulders are nuts.
And so it's basically just, it's third down, bring Keenan Allen in. He's got the chemistry with Justin Herbert. He's played basically every season of Herbert's career with him. And so Allen is always the first read on third down. And it does not matter that Keenan Allen is 34 years old and he runs a 4.9 at this point and his shoulders are completely fried. He is at the sticks and he is open on third down. And he will catch it and he gets the first down and then he comes off the field and then we'll see you in a couple of downs when it gets back to third down, buddy. Johnston has been doing a lot more vertical stuff this year. And so when Joe Alt was in the game, they were tapping into a lot more of that because they had a little bit more time to throw. Mm-hmm. They could get Johnston on some of these longer developing routes that were kind of going more down the field. But he's also done a much better job getting some manufactured touches. When the Chargers have gone to quick game, they've gone to Johnston a lot to kind of utilize his run after the catch ability as well. So he's kind of been in that sort of burner type role this season. And then Ladd McConkey is Ladd McConkey. And so, the first half of the year, Keenan Allen was playing a lot more. And so McConkey's stat line was kind of deflated a little bit because what Keenan Allen does best and what Ladd McConkey does best overlap a pretty decent amount. But with Keenan's snap percentage kind of declining as they try to get Trey Harris involved a little bit more, McConkey has kind of taken over more of that role on first and second down of okay, if you need an option underneath, if you need a guy that's just going to be at the sticks, you need these guys, a guy to run a whip route and out route, out of the slot. McConkey is doing a lot more of that. And so he's getting a lot more involved recently. And then Gadsden too is kind of doing a lot more vertical stuff as a tight end, it's a lot of seam balls. It's a lot of, getting him into vertical space because he's a very good athlete at tight end. So they have a pretty good mix of guys. They have a Like, if you want to go to quick game, you can go to Johnston, you can go to Trey Harris. If you want to throw it deep, you can get to Johnson, you can get to Gadsden. Lad McConkey's really great on those deep crossing routes. If you want to just throw it quick and underneath, you can get it to Allen, you can get it to McConkey. You know, like, they have a really good mix of pass catchers on this offense. And I think that's reflected in the way that all of them have kind of performed this season. You know, no one has like a standout stat line, but everyone is performing at like a, you know, above average sort of stat line so far.
Mm-hmm. Keenan Allen is the living, breathing embodiment of the "Unc still got it" meme.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Him and Tony Jefferson, man. We'll talk about the Chargers defense in a little bit, but Tony Jefferson it's unreal what he's doing.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Tony Jefferson is still a relevant name, dude. That's nuts.
Yeah. He was in the Ravens scouting department 2 years ago. Like, it's insane.
Every time I think about Tony Jefferson, man, I think literally that same meme, Pierre, and I just see Cuz on the floor doing the bounce. Like, he's like, I don't know how he does it, but he come back in the middle of the season, make his money, make an impact, and then does it all over again. Sit there like, yeah, you know, Tony Jefferson's always available. Comes back, makes his money, makes an impact. It's so awesome to see. Actually.
UDFA in 2013. That's unbelievable, dude. That's a hell of a career to carve out.
Yeah,
but you talked about Chargers defense right there, and I mean, I think that's a good transition point. Why don't we can switch it up? Why don't you tell us a little bit about, you know, the Chargers defense, and then we can get into the Eagles offense a little bit and how that matches up.
Yeah, so the defense has been a little bit up and down this season. It's been weird. You know, like last season, they're an elite unit under Jesse Minter, right? And this season, you know, I think they came in with pretty high expectations. You know, everyone was kind of expecting them to repeat that, you know, as like a top 5, top 10 defense in the league. It's been a little bit up and down, just like they've had so many injuries. I mean, the whole team has, but the defense, you know, they were missing Khalil Mack for 4 or 5 weeks. You know, they traded Alohi Gilman to the Ravens. Obviously, they get Odafe Owe back, but then like Owe has to get ramped up. And so like he's only playing, you know, 20, 30 snaps a game for the first 2 or 3 weeks that he's in town. Tarheeb still gets injured. Dante Jackson has been banged up a little bit, although he hasn't missed any games. Cam Hart has been injured at corner. Dayon Henley had some sort of sinus infection for like a month. You know, like Denzel Perryman was on injured reserve with an ankle injury for a ton of time. Deshaun Hand was on IR. Otidio Ogbonia is still on IR. He's supposed to be coming back maybe this week. So, you know, it's just been like, you know, they're having to make this defense out of spare parts, basically. And so the best example of that, like we were just talking about, is Tony Jefferson, who is playing now that Alohi Gilman is in Baltimore. Because the Chargers are almost always going to play with 3 safeties on the field because Derwin James is a glorified nickel corner at this point. And so Elijah Molden and Jefferson will be the 2 deep safeties. I don't know if you guys watched Chargers Raiders last week, but Tony Jefferson had an interception where Dante Jackson tipped the ball away from Dante Thornton on the sideline and they both fell out of bounds. And then Tony Jefferson comes flying from out of frame and makes a diving interception. Both knees hit inbounds, and then he just rolls out of bounds. It's like, there's no way he caught that. It's Tony Jefferson. He's 34. Like, what do you mean? And then, you know, they show the replay, and it's like, oh, no, he got it. He got in there. Okay, the Chargers have the ball on the 30, I guess. And that's kind of how the Chargers defense experience has been this season. It's just like, you know, for all of that I just said, right? Like, all these guys have been injured. It's kind of felt up and down. You know, Dayon Henley has not had the breakout season a lot of people thought he would. You know, Khalil Mack has maybe regressed a little bit, you know, coming back from this injury. Tarheeb still is maybe not played up to expectations after, like, you know, getting a defensive rookie of the year vote last year. And yet after all of that, the Chargers are still 6th in EPA per play allowed as a defense in the league. You know, like, it's still like a very, very good defensive unit. And really what it comes down to is just anytime that you throw the ball, like, it does not matter how much separation it looks like your receivers have. Every Chargers DB is such an elite closing DB that, like, those windows close so fast. And so even if it looks open, you throw it and then a DB gets a hand on it, right? Like, I don't have the stat in front of me, but I would bet that the Chargers are up there in terms of pass breakups, in terms of deflections, you know, from their DBs, because every single week it's, you know, all 5 guys in that secondary are making a play on the ball. And, like even down to like the corner 4, Benjamin St. Just, who has played, like 25% of the
It
snaps.
just cracks me up every time I hear Commanders cornerback playing well. And they just spent so much time like, these guys stink. Like they spent so much time picking on Forbes, man.
I know Forbes is playing well now too.
Oh yeah. No, it's crazy. But yeah, so like that's been a huge part of it, right? Of like, as long as the Chargers can get you to third down, like they're one of the best third down teams in the league defensively too. Like both offensively and defensively, they're one of the best teams in the league on third down. And a lot of that has to just do with the fact of like, if you get into a third medium, third and long, where it's an obvious passing situation, the Chargers are going to bat that ball away like 7 times out of 10. The pass rush has really improved since Owe got to the Chargers because now they have a pretty nice stable of 3 guys, right? And so on third downs, you can kick Tuli Tuipulotu inside where he's a little bit more physical. He's a bigger guy. He's a little bit more physical on the inside. Owe and Mack are on the edge, providing pressure that way. And, Mack is still a little bit more of a pocket crusher too. Tuli has his first 10 sack season of his career this year. He's probably going to get extended this offseason. And then Owe kind of gives you a little bit more of that speed rush element off the edge coming over from Baltimore. And so the pass rush has really picked up. They sacked Geno Smith, I think, 5 times last week. Yeah. Obviously, it's the Raiders offensive line versus, what the Eagles have, but also with how banged up the Eagles offensive line is, it's like, well, maybe that's not as uneven of a comparison as it would seem on paper.
Definitely.
Yeah, so just going a little bit about the numbers here with this.
Real quick, Pierre, just want to point out yet another example of the Eagles getting the worst brother. Marlon Tuipulotu, and Tuipulotu is in his first 10 sack season. Another example to add to the list.
That's right.
It doesn't end, man. It doesn't end. Go ahead, Pierre.
Yeah, 2 sacks last week.
But no, just going a little bit about the numbers here with the Chargers defense. You outlined it a little bit, Alex, but third in yards allowed per game, 11th in points allowed, second in pass defense, 13th in run defense. And you kind of outlined kind of the, I don't want to say inconsistent, but the up and down nature of the Chargers defense. So the question I had is kind of which is closer to the real story for this Chargers defense? Is it the unit that gave up 35 points and 345 yards to the Jaguars, or the unit last week that held the Raiders to 56 yards?
I think it's closer to the latter. So Liam Cohen in particular has fried this iteration of the Chargers defense. You go back to the Bucs game last year, like the Bucs destroyed the Chargers last year with Liam Cohen offensive coordinator. Liam Cohen does very well against this sort of like Seahawks-Ravens iteration of defenses. And so that game is a little bit of an outlier. Now, of course, on the other end, the Raiders game is a little bit of an outlier because the Raiders had an interim offensive coordinator for that game and are terrible. But I think that they're closer to that unit. Like I think if you look at the way that they perform against most offenses, like it's a lot closer to that unit. Now, when they play like elite offenses, right? When they play the best teams, the defense is liable to getting a little bit out over their skis. They try to do a little bit too much. They're trying, because a lot of times when you're playing those teams also have pretty decent offenses, right? And so you're trying to get to a point where it's like, okay, let's steal a possession. Let's get the offense the ball back. Let's get Justin Herbert good field position. And so there's a little bit of gambling to this defense that I think makes them susceptible sometimes. Like if you go back to like the playoff game against the Texans last year, I think that's a perfect example, right? Of like you're playing another elite defense. It's a good enough offense that like you're just trying to get anything back, and everyone is just kind of forcing it a little bit. That has been one of the criticisms that a lot of people have had about this Chargers defense is that when they play the best teams, the defense does not generally perform very well. But I do think they're a lot closer to what they showed last week, especially this season, because last week is the healthiest that the defense has been in a long time. Tariq still is back. Khalil Mack is back. Perriman is back. Really the only contributor that you're missing in any fashion is Otito Ogbonnia, who got designated to return last week with Amarin Hampton, will probably come back this week. The Chargers have typically activated guys the second week of their window, so I would expect Hampton and Ogbonnia to fall in that category this week. But yeah, it's the healthiest that they've been all season. They're kind of rounding back into form. I think the linebacker play has still been inconsistent, even at the best level of their play this season. But I do think that they're closer to being that unit than the one that got their crap kicked in by the Jaguars.
I mean, it's going to be an interesting matchup because the way Pierre outlined that, I mean, you can say the same thing about the Eagles. Is it the team that went up against the Vikings and torched a Brian Flores defense, or are we the team that pick any of the games, pick just about any of the other games? So
right,
it's just going to be it's interesting because both these teams have a ton of variance, right? Like there's
right.
a really high highs and really low lows. Yeah, I'm truly just interested to see what we have, go on out there. I would definitely worry about the run game this week, especially after, how they kind of were able to shut down the Raiders last week. Now, obviously it's different situations, but the Eagles just, our O-line is still, injured, not playing well, whatever the explanation might be. We don't have that run game that we were able to lean on in the past, huh?
It ultimately comes down to, like we talked about on the pod the other day on Tuesday. A, the willingness from the play caller, but B, the willingness from the quarterback. Jalen Hurts has to be willing to be used as a runner in order for the run game to be opened up. I'm not saying that they can't be ran on, but having Jalen Hurts the runner makes a big difference. I mean, this Vikings team, I believe they allow
Chargers.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Chargers. Pierre just said Vikings a second ago.
It was me.
This Chargers team, I believe they allow 5.7 yards per carry, which is 30th in the league to the quarterback position. So, Jalen, again, whether it's scrambles or design quarterback runs, Jalen has to be willing to be. All I can think about is the last time these two teams played, and that scramble with the game on the line, and Jalen Hurts dove for the first down. I'm not saying that he's going to have to.
Didn't he like somersault?
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying he got to put his life on the line like that. Yeah, he was like the good old days, huh? I remember that moment.
He set up way too quick. He's like, oh, the one where he somersaulted, right?
Ideally, that is the way for the Eagles to have some success on the ground. Now, I'd be lying to you about
push too, man. They got to get pushed. I don't want to see Cam facing backwards. That was just so infuriating to me, dude. Like, just face the right way. That was up there, Quell, in terms of mental images in my head. That's up there with the Jamon Brown putting on the glove. Just Cam fully backwards, just putting his arms out, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing, bro? What?
It's like the Rock meme. Stop. Man he was shielding him.
He's like Spider-Man on the train, like trying to stop the train. I'm like, buddy, it's not gonna work like that. I don't think it's gonna work like that. Oh man, that was a painful mental image. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go on. Q.
No. I definitely understand that, man. But from an Eagles standpoint, I mean, how do you win in the passing game? We've talked all year long about how this team and their success against when these defenses run man coverage, and then when they switch to zone, they have their fair share of issues where this team is primarily a zone team. I don't think you might see. I was about to say I don't think you will see any man coverage being ran at all, like not even a little bit. So kind of like you talked about, Alex, that's kind of where it comes down to, those windows. Now, as you were speaking, ideally that helps for Jalen Hurts, because as a lot of people like to say, Jalen is a see ball, throw ball kind of guy. He has to see it open and he's going to throw it there. So if you see the windows, all I can think about hearing you talk is, well, Jalen Hurts over the last few years, he's led the league in completion percentage over expectation. He's used to making tight window throws. Hopefully these guys can make the receptions like we've become accustomed to, but their opportunities could be there to beat this zone coverage. The problem is Jalen has to be able to trust what he's seeing, man. And that's been the big thing over the last few weeks, man. Just, buddy.
It's the biggest case of they need their swagger back that I have ever seen, dude. This is an offense with just like no mojo, no juice. Like they've forgotten what they're capable of. And it's frustrating me. Pierre, what were you about to say, bro?
Yeah, they've shown the ability to be able to execute versus zone over the last couple of weeks. Like against the Cowboys, that first half, like they were carving them up. Like Jalen was throwing the ball, and whenever the Cowboys were in zone, like over the little sit routes or whatever like that, like Jalen was throwing the ball, and the offense was moving. It's just number one, penalties and the consistency of it. That's the biggest thing. They can't continue to shoot themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that part right there. I mean, we've talked about it for weeks now. I mean, I would love to outline AJ Brown coming off back-to-back 110 plus yard performances, but like we talked about the other day, when the Eagles have a 100-yard receiver, somehow they just don't win games. So maybe they should just stop throwing the ball, I guess. But the run game doesn't.
Game doesn't work. No, just throw the ball. Just throw the ball. Maybe the key is Devontae and AJ both need 100 yards, not either of them, because we have not had the elusive. Both of them have
the Viking game.
Okay, and
that was the best game. That was the best game of the season. So,
but I'm interested, Alex, to get kind of a outside perspective on this Eagles offense. What's your read on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have.
Oh man, this is about to sound bad. As soon as he said that, yeah, I knew it was about to sound so bad.
I think you guys have covered it well. Honestly, like I do think that like it's partially the play caller and partially like Jalen's willingness to do it, right? Like, there was a lot of off-season chatter, right? I think between these two fan bases specifically about like, is Jalen Hurts a better quarterback than Justin Herbert and, all this stuff. And, like, I don't like to get into all that stuff. Like, that's not really my game, but like it's like, I think we've seen this season, right. That like there's certain aspects of the offense that I think are certainly on Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator, right? Like there's certain stuff that like clearly they are not getting to as well as they did with Kellen Moore as OC last year. But I also think that like, because they're not getting to some of that stuff, like Jalen is kind of closing himself off from some of the other things that he can do to make the offense successful the way that it's constructed. And I think that they're just on different pages. And so that has kind of like led to like, you can't really get the same level of play that you were used to. And then, you look at the run game and it's like, okay, well, like you had Saquon go for almost 2,000 yards, over 2,000 yards, maybe. I don't remember exactly what it was last season, right? But in doing so, you gave him, 1 billion carries, and now he's still, banged up from that season. Cam Jurgens is banged up. Lane Johnson is hurt. Tyler Steen has not played as well as Mekhi Becton played last season. I think Jordan Mailata has taken a step back a little bit this season. And so you don't get the same level of push in the run game. And because you haven't been able to do that, you're asking Jalen to make more plays, but he hasn't been seeing it as well. And so like it all just combines into this like, okay, like it's just not the same level of play that we got last year. Everybody is frustrated because, you're not getting the same plays that you got last year. It's not the same vibe because you're not getting that stuff, right? But I thought the point about Jalen as a runner was a really good one, especially in this game, because the Chargers have struggled a lot with running quarterbacks. And a lot of that has to do with the way that they run their zone coverage, because all of the Chargers zone coverage is match zone. Mm-hmm. And so as the play develops longer and longer and longer, it looks more and more like man coverage. And so if you go up against a quarterback that can extend the play, get outside the pocket, make plays on the run, whether that's scrambling or whether that's throwing the ball on the run, the Chargers defense, like you're going to have holes on the field, right? Because of the way that defense starts to stretch and expand itself as the play gets longer. Because after a certain point, it's going to be, okay, I'm going to follow this guy all the way through, right? And so if you're able to get receivers back into those windows, right, where it's like, okay, the defender just vacated this because he's running downfield with Devontae Smith, who's just, like running a clear out at this point. If you get another defender into that window, like that will be open. And the Chargers have struggled with that all season, really the last 2 seasons, right? And so Jalen has to be willing to operate outside of the pocket and do a little bit more as a runner, because, these Chargers linebackers, like I mentioned earlier, like they are gettable, right? Like Deion Henley has not played at the same level that he played at last year. Denzel Perryman is a nice player against the run, but he's not a good coverage player. They're bringing in Troy Dye to play coverage when you get to passing situations. Troy Dye is a fine player, but he's more of a special teamer. He's more of a fill-in player. Like it's not the ideal scenario for them. And so, it's just a matter of like, are the Eagles willing to tap into that? And are they willing to get a little bit more into like, you have to play a little bit more unstructured football in order to beat this Chargers defense? Are you willing to do that?
Damn it, Alex. I was ready to fight back, dude, and you did it right. He said, I can't argue with anything, dude. I was ready. I was like, I'm going to have to defend Jalen's honor here. And like, I mean, I can't disagree with anything. Your point about him not taking the easy things because nothing else is working has been our biggest complaint over the last couple of weeks. And it's been frustrating because at the beginning of the season, the offense was inconsistent, but they weren't missing throws to the extent that they have in the last couple of weeks, that Jalen has in the last couple of weeks. And to me, that's just screamed like nobody's on the same page right now. Yeah, like, it's just like they're all over the place. And yeah, I mean, I just honestly think you put it perfectly. And so it's comforting that people around the league think the same thing. Like, we're not just thinking things. And it's also infuriating that it's like, oh, so everybody and their mother can understand what the problem is here, except the Eagles coaching staff and Jalen Hurts. So yeah. I mean, well put, man. That's all I can say about it at this point.
I must ask. I mean, of course, we're having a conversation about the Eagles offense against the Chargers defense, but you said something that has stood out to me. And I said this to the guys probably about a month and a half ago when we were talking about the offensive line struggles. But you mentioned Tyler Steen and how he hasn't played as well as Mekhi Becton. Well, Mekhi Becton is on the other sideline this week for the Chargers. And I mean, we've all seen his recent complaints, the quote unquote, they don't do business the way I'm used to, or it's not the same as what I'm accustomed to. But I mean, between his injuries and inconsistent play, the Chargers have rightfully so tried to do what's best for the football team. In the same breath of that, you talked about the Eagles offensive line and how the Super Bowl run all we have is the lasting memory of Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens both having twisted knees in the NFC Championship game, and they just alternating spots after halftime because we got to get to a Super Bowl. But we rode behind the back of that offensive line to a Super Bowl, and Mekhi Becton was on that group. And now, just like a lot of the guys on this offensive line, he's going through a year where injuries are playing a big part. He just isn't as consistent as what he was the year before. So do you think a lot of that, just like the Eagles offensive line, comes down to how much football he played last year? And do you think the Chargers have considered that? And do you think they will consider that when it's time for contract? Because, I mean, I believe he signed a 2-year deal, but I think they can get out of it after this year. So,
yeah, they can get out of it after this season. The stuff with Mekhi this year has been strange. He just he's certainly not played up to the level that he played at last year with the Eagles. And I think, a lot of people are quick to just point to like, oh, well, the Eagles have the best offensive line ecosystem in the league. So, like he was terrible on the Jets. And then you put him on the Eagles and like, yeah, of course he's good. And then he gets the Chargers and it's like, yeah, of course he's bad. The Chargers offensive line ecosystem is bad. I do think that there's a coaching element to that, right? Like, obviously, Jeff Stoutland is a phenomenal offensive line coach. I don't think very highly of the Chargers offensive line coach, Mike Devlin. Certainly not that highly that I do Stoutland. And so there's certainly an aspect of it, that comes with that. But also, I think that you look at the way that the Eagles offensive line has regressed this season across the board, but especially with the way that, like, Tyler Steen looks like he basically was not ready to step into this starting role for a lot of the season. And I think you can push back on that a little bit, right? And say like, okay, well, maybe it doesn't have, like, it's not just like he went to the Eagles and they fixed his entire life, right? Like, there's an aspect of it that I think just like, he had a knee thing during training camp and then he gets sick while he's in Brazil. And like, it's just been like thing after thing after thing. And it's like what happened when he was on the Jets, right? It's the same, like, just minor nicks and aches and stuff that he had when he was on the Jets. And then when he has been in, he hasn't played up to that same level. He's been a very bad, very poor pass protecting offensive lineman this season. He has not gotten the same level of push in the run game. I think, offensive line is hard to isolate individual performance a lot of the time, especially when you run some of the concepts that the Chargers run that Greg Roman wants to run, because like I think that, you know, you look at the difference in, you know, Mekhi Becton playing next to a healthier Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson last year versus Mekhi Becton playing next to Bradley Bozeman and Trey Pipkins, who is not even supposed to be the right tackle this year with the Chargers. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, he's not playing as well. He's not next to, you know, the best right tackle of all time, potentially. And, you know, a very, very good center when healthy, right? Like he's next to one of the worst centers in the league, even when healthy, and a guy that wasn't even supposed to play this season because he was supposed to be the swing tackle, but the right tackle was playing left tackle because the left tackle tore his knee up. Like, you know, and so like from the start, you know, it's just been a bad situation, I think. And, you know, the frustrations that he's had, I think that like the team is probably just as frustrated with him, you know, and so like it's, you know, you got to kind of get out ahead of that, some of that kind of stuff. I don't know what they're going to end up doing with that contract at the end of the year. You know, it's $10 million cap hit next season. I think none of that is guaranteed, or if, you know, if some of that are guaranteed, it's very little. They can get out of it very easily. I have kind of been of the mind the last few weeks of like, they should just keep him. Like $10 million is not that much for a guard. Like, you know, draft a guy on day 2, redshirt him for 1 year, put him in after next season, because, you know, you're going to have to put in a new center. You're going to be getting Slater and Alt back and reshuffling the line that way. Cause like, we don't know which one of those two guys is going to play left tackle next season. I assume it's going to be Rashawn Slater, but they might flip them again because the way that Joe Alt looked at left tackle and say like, hey, you know, Rashawn Slater suffered a pretty major knee injury that like offensive linemen historically do not come back very well from. Maybe we need to move him to right tackle, but you're paying him like he's a left tackle. So maybe he stays at left tackle. All that's uncertain. Zion Johnson's a free agent. Who knows if he gets extended after the year? You know, like you're already
free agent. Zion Johnson. I feel like he just got drafted. God.
Yeah. This is his 4th year, man. They declined his 5th year option. This is his 4th year in the league. Like he's on the market after this year, right? And so there's already all these moving parts, right? And like Zion has played well this season. I think he'll probably end up getting an extension, you know, a pretty modest one from the Chargers. But you're already doing a lot of moving parts with the offensive line this offseason. You got to rebuild the entire depth of the offensive line. Jamar Sawyer, Trevor Penning, you know, all those guys are free agents as well. Austin Deculus is a free agent. And so I've always sort of leaned of like they should just bring Mekhi back. It's $10 million. What's the risk? You know, $10 million in this landscape is really not that much. That's an average starting guard in the league. You know, like you look at like John Runyon with the Giants is on a 3-year, $30 million deal, $10 million. It's an average guy. Draft a guy, you know, if he's better, he's better. Great. But I do think like with the injuries and now with this sort of like, you know, kind of butting of heads that they've had, it seems like they're probably going to part ways this offseason, you know, and I think it really just depends how the next few weeks go, right? How the rest of the season goes of, you know, can he turn it around? He played a full game last week against the Raiders. It's like the 3rd time he's done that all season out of, you know, 12 games. So, you know,
hey, man,
so
we'll
that's
take him back.
Right.
We'll
Yeah. You know, like it's a step in the right direction. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, you know, like maybe he'll be available to come back and play right guard.
Listen, well, if you guys release him, the Bills will probably just grab him right before weekend. We'll see if he wants to play football anymore. Yeah. But let's we got a little bit on the offense and defense. Let's get into our matchups to watch.
I thought he was about to say special teams. I was about to say, oh, okay. God, no, it's a good podcast today.
No, definitely not, dude. Special teams have not been very special this year, unless you call, you know, fumbling. Returning a kick from the other guy from the 1 and then fumbling.
Listen, we will not speak. That's he shall become our Voldemort. Name who they shall not mention. Dude, we have Britton Covey back. I don't even want to hear another peep.
The thing about having Britton Covey back is it's like, well, first he almost drops like that first kick, and then I forgot. Every time he gets hit, he just gets launched, and it's like, oh my god!
Yeah, it looks like he dies every time.
It looks like he dies every time he gets hit.
He played at Utah.
It's been like that since he was at Utah.
Yeah. So when he was at Utah, I was a student at Washington, and so my friends and I went to every game. And every year that they played Utah, you know, in the old Pac-12, every year we'd be like, all right, one play of this game, Britton Covey is going to get demolished by a player on Washington special teams, and it was usually Carson Brunner, to be fair. or Ben Burke-Hervin back then, I guess.
Ooh, that's
but
cool.
like, yeah, but one play a game, it was like, all right, here goes Britton Covey on the punt return. Oh my God, he's dead. There's no way he can get up from that.
It's the Peter Griffin meme every time he touches the ball. But all right, so for our matchups, I'll go with the Chargers offense versus our defense first, and we'll go in a circle, and then we'll switch sides of the ball. Chargers offense. We just talked about him. He's supposed to be playing again. He's supposed to be playing again, playing for his job. I'll go with Mekhi Becton. Little bit of show the team. What they missed out on if he's able to make it to the game healthy. But against whoever's lined up in front of him, right? Because like we talked about, Jalen Carter is going to be out, but whether it's Jordan Davis or Moro Ejima, like whoever it is, it'll be a matchup to watch.
I just imagine every snap he's on the field, they like Justin Herbert's like set go, and immediately Mekhi Becton just flips his body around to the Eagles side of the ball, and he's like, "Come on, guys, let's go kill him."
I'm still on your side. I just was sleep. I'm a sleeper agent.
Please take me with you.
All right.
So you took mine, Parth. So I'm gonna go Justin Herbert versus Zach Bond. Justin Herbert dealing with the hand surgery he had this week.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of how does that impact him? Vic Fangio, he's shown a little bit more willingness to send pressure. Sometimes it's Zach Bond, sometimes it's Nakobe Dean. But if he sends Zach,
it's Shahad Campbell.
Yeah, which I don't understand. Like 0 snaps last week, bro. That cannot happen again.
I don't think it will. I think it came down to game script.
But... Yeah, dude, they were just running the hell out of the ball on us. You're gonna put Jihad out there. That's probably not use of resources.
But yeah, if they do send Zach, can he impact Justin Herbert?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick it out to the edge there. We talked about Jalen Phillips a little bit, dealing with that concussion, but did practice. Today looks like he'll probably get through protocol. I've been really impressed with the way that he's played since he got traded to the Eagles. He's said in interviews, right? Like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, he's like the only one on the Eagles that seems to have renewed life. He's having the best time of his life, and he's got Jamari Sawyer on the other side, right, at left tackle, who's dealing with a shoulder thing. He played decently well last week, but it's also against the Raiders with Max Crosby only lining up against the right tackle, right? And so I'm interested to see, how the Chargers kind of scheme around this Eagles pass rush, especially on the edges, because even if you're only going to send 4, right, like the Eagles have the talent that they should be able to beat the caliber of like Jamari Sawyer and Trey Pipkins at tackle. And so, I'm interested to see, like, are they going to send a bunch of chip help Sawyer's way to deal with Phillips? Is Phillips going to line up on the right side primarily? How that matchup is going to work, especially with Herbert dealing with that broken hand of like, you're going to have to be in shotgun more often. You're going to have to, get the ball out quicker probably because you don't want Herbert to be scrambling quite as much. I think there's going to be a lot of, they need to get the ball out. And so in order to do that, you need to be able to win some of those pass blocks initially.
Pierre, this could be the day. We talked about it. I don't feel like we've mentioned it again since his first game. We got Jalen Phillips, but this can be the game. No Jalen Carter.
Need another Jalen to step up.
Move him to the inside, man. Move him to the inside. Let some of these other outside guys.
You got BG too, though.
Exactly.
You got BG too, yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe it depends on rundowns and pass downs. They could probably rotate the issue. I mean, of course, that isn't saying that Phillips won't play outside on certain snaps, but I do think we can see more Phillips inside. And, of course, Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith on the outside. But we'll see. Just something to watch out for. My matchup to watch on this side of the ball is the Chargers wide receivers against the Eagles cornerbacks. And I specifically asked you about how the target distribution have gone down with this Chargers offense, and you did an absolutely marvelous job of explaining it. I'm interested to see exactly how Vic Fangio chooses to deploy these guys because, as you mentioned, there's no number one. It's just guys that have their jobs to do. I mean, for a second, Lad McConkey and Keenan Allen's jobs coexisted, but they figured out a way to make it work. But there's guys who have their jobs to do. You kind of have an idea of who should get the ball when. It's just about, can you get a stop? But for Vic Fangio, how do you deploy your cornerbacks? We've been accustomed to seeing Quinyon Mitchell do his fair share of shadowing. Will he shadow anybody this week? I don't think so. Wouldn't surprise me if he did, but I don't think you should. On the other hand, do you trust when you have the boundary matchup of Dory Jackson down the field one-on-one against Quentin Johnston? That's something to look out for.
That height difference is going to be hilarious to look at, dude.
Buddy. That's why I think Marcus Epps plays a big factor in this. But those specifically, and what really made this stand out to me is, despite how bad the Eagles defense looked on against the run last week, Eagles defense held every single Bears pass catcher to under for 40 receiving yards last week. Same can be said for the Chargers last week. Didn't have a single pass catcher go over 40 yards. I think Lad McConkey had 39. Yep. Had a touchdown, but not a single pass catcher over 30 yards. Didn't ask Justin Herbert to do a whole lot of much. Could this be a game where Herbert is not 100%? Vic Fangio could. I mean, we know he likes the too high. Could he take a safety, bring him down a little more, basically dare them to throw the ball and say he trusts his guys on the outside? We'll see. It's very interesting to see how these two match up.
Q, I mean, kind of cheated, so I had to call you out. You went whole units. The battle was right there, dude. The battle of the white boys. Lad McConkey's played about like 52% of his snaps in the slot. I mean, who is going to come up?
I had to mention Adoree though, because like you said, that height differential between the potential Adoree Jackson,
brother, I don't want to think
Johnston matchup. I'm sitting here like I mean, don't get me wrong, Adoree has played better over the last few weeks, and I mean, Quentin is having a career year.
He has not played better in the last couple of weeks. He played better like 2 weeks ago. He had like a good 2 weeks, and then the last 2 weeks he's just been getting.
I mean, he wasn't that bad last week. That was Sidney Brown.
I feel like Sidney Brown has just been taking a lot of the blame for Adoree kind of not being great and getting injured every game. Like, I'm just ready to see Jacorian Bennett at this point, dude. Like, I need something else, bro. Like, just
Adoree hasn't been as bad as being portrayed, man.
He's been pretty bad, bro.
What is Jacorian Bennett not showing during the week for Keely Ringo? I know.
Right. And that's what it comes down to, right? Like, I can say I want to see him as much as I want to, but if he's not able to beat out,
can he be that bad?
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I stopped questioning Vic Fangio about a year ago.
Listen,
and last time I lied.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this year there was just like brainworms that were, fed to the coaching staff by accident in the cafeteria.
No, it couldn't have been, because I was just about to say, I questioned him earlier this year, and I questioned, why are you trotting Adoree Jackson out over there instead of Keely Ringo? And then we played Keely Ringo and saying why. So if he's telling me that he wants to play Adoree Jackson over Jacorian Bennett, I'm going to listen to him.
Agreed, but like, it's ugly, and I still think the brainworms are a possibility, bro. They all got RFK brain. We're cooked. Kevin Patullo is just eating tuna fish all the time, bro. It's over. But anyways, flipping to the offensive side of the ball, I'll go with my boy, man. I go with him every week. I mean, he's my favorite player on the team. AJ Brown.
Part. You have my notes in front of you.
Let's go, dude. You always take mine. It feels good. It feels good to take some this time. But Chargers have kind of a rotating stable of defensive backs that are out there. So I guess I'll cheat like Q here and say the unit. There you go. But we just saw that the signs of life last week at the beginning of the game. You saw the 2 touchdowns to AJ. You see the high five and the hug, because we're just grasping at straws here for any semblance of sanity and happiness. So I want to see it continue, man. I want to see that connection come back to life. And it's funny, all this talk we've had this year, everybody's miserable. AJ and Devontae still can very easily both be 1,000-yard receivers this year. So I definitely want to see them, make a dent into that. So
I want to keep losing games. Keep throwing the ball.
Quell, two receivers over 100 yards. Prove me wrong, baby. Prove me wrong.
I'm gonna piggyback off of you, Parth. I'm not changing mine this time. I'll just provide a little bit more context. Cam Hart, he's given up 112.2 passer rating when targeted this season. Like we talked about, Chargers, they major in zone. And like I said, last couple of games, the Eagles have shown the propensity or ability to get the ball to AJ Brown versus teams who play a lot of zone. So I think this is a game.
Like who?
Like what you mean?
Oh, I guess the Cowboys. You said the last couple games. You can't say that, man. Because I'm sitting here like we just played the Bears, and the Bears gonna play man till they die.
You catch my drift, bro. Anyway, I think this is a game for the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown connection to get back on track.
I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley against Deion Henley. I think that with the run game operating the way that it has for the Eagles, I think that there's probably more opportunity for the Eagles to get Saquon the ball as a receiver, to kind of get him more touches and get him a little bit more momentum as a player. And like I said, Dan Henley has not necessarily played up to expectations. We all thought he was going to have a huge year this year, potential all-pro caliber linebacker season this year, and it has just not been that. And the Chargers linebackers have really struggled overall in coverage, especially on some of those running back routes. And so I think that, if you're able to get some swing passes and stuff like that, some screens even to Saquon to kind of get him going as kind of like quasi run game without actually having to hand him the ball. I think that could be a way that the Eagles could get going. But so if the Chargers are able to defend against that, or if they're able to, find an answer for that, then I think that'll be an interesting kind of matchup to watch as the Eagles try to get back on track a little bit offensively.
If they watch film, they can probably beat it because what game was it, guys? Was it the Cowboys game? We ran a tunnel screen to AJ, and I've never seen a play broken up so fast, and it was painful. It was one of the last couple games, but yeah, it's just it feels like I heard it was on some podcast, I forget which one, but they were like, it feels like the Chip Kelly days where like there were like a couple plays that we did and everybody was just kind of keying off because it was like, oh, all right, like we know what's coming, and can't always just bet on your players being better. Put them in positions to succeed. But I can scream that till my head falls off, and I guess it won't make a difference. Q, what's your matchup, bro?
So I'm gonna give you a clear one, and then I'm gonna pull my cheat for the week since Pierre didn't use it. I expected Pierre to use it. We usually alternate. Somebody gets a cheat. Since nobody used it, I'll steal it. But my initial answer was, like we talked about earlier, Tyler Steen against Tuli Tuipulotu, man. Talk about a 10-sack guy. I mean, Tyler Steen, who he's been pretty good in pass pro. Run blocking is where the issues have set the stage. But again, the entire Eagles offensive line has just been bad. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to figure out a way to keep the double-digit sack man off their quarterback that, oddly enough, he didn't get sacked one time last week. Not one time. So they've been trying to keep him upright, or he's been trying to keep himself upright because the ball's been getting out a little quicker over the last few games than what we're accustomed to. I'm like, Jalen Hurts, is that you? But speaking of Jalen Hurts, that's my matchup to watch, man. Jalen Hurts against Jesse Minter. I mean, we talked about Jalen Hurts and his struggles against zone. I mean, like you said, here, he's attempted to be better, but this is no ordinary zone that you're going to be playing against this week, buddy. This is one of the ones that it's going to look different on every single play based on what y'all run. You're not going to be able to understand what you're seeing. I mean, hopefully y'all did a good enough job in preparation, and maybe you understand their match concepts. Hell, you played for Nick Saban. Man, they basically invented this, but I doubt it. Because Kevin Patullo's called in place. So somehow, some way, this Eagles offense, and Jalen Hurts more so. I mean, you indoors this week, man. There are no 25-mile-per-hour winds to bail you out as to why the ball is behind Devonta Smith, even though Hard Knocks showed us it was a miscommunication. But some of them passes were really bad. There's no wins to excuse your inaccuracy. You're indoors. You're playing against a defense who, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like you said, Alex, they've been a very solid defense by the metrics, but they're not unbeatable by any metric, especially against teams that if the Eagles play up to their standard, they should be able to have success offensively. The question is, what is your standard? And I think they're trying to figure that out themselves.
All right. Predictions, and then we can get on out of here. All right, I'll start. Do I go with the heart? Do I go with the mind? What goes on? I think I'll go 2017.
Super Bowl.
I know, right? I think the score's gonna be 2017. I honestly just don't know which way I'm gonna go. I'll go Eagles because it's an Eagles podcast and I'm a homer, and there's no question about it. If you had asked me last week about the Bears, I honestly was kind of thinking that could have ended up being a loss.
Telling y'all, yeah, you did say that. You called it par. When me and Pierre was talking me through, I kept telling like, yo, this defense, they operate weird, bro. This is not your regular. They do a lot of everything, so I can't key on one thing.
Yeah, it's odd, bro. So this game is going to be close, and that's why that's why I said 2017 either way. I think it's a weird game, because you have Herbert coming back from injury. You have a ton of injuries throughout. Then you have this inconsistent Eagles offense. You have this similarly inconsistent Chargers defense, and the recipe is like, who the hell knows what it's going to look like. But I think we'll end up seeing both these defenses just kind of. It's going to be a physical, long game. I think that's just kind of what you expect from a Harbaugh and Sirianni type of game, where they're just going to be two hard-headed ass guys who, honestly, I think it'd be more entertaining to just watch the two of them headbutt each other, like on the sideline. Like I would probably pay money to watch that. Like I think those two guys are both psychos enough to do that. But I just think it's going to be a defensive battle. It's going to come down to the end, 3-point kind of difference. I really think this is it is going to be a close game that could swing either way.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, brother. I think this is going to be one of those really, really weird, strange kind of games, just like you outlined with the inconsistent Chargers defense and whatever the hell the Eagles are doing on offense. I'm going to go Eagles 23, Chargers 18. It's going to be a strange game.
I was going to say, we're saying it's strange, but nobody's predicted any scoregami yet. Maybe we get one of those. Or did he dropped off the face of the planet? Right? He was a Ravens fan. He's back. He was just broken after the Ravens game. What was it? Right?
Broken.
That's what it was.
Sorry, some scoregamis, not scoregamis. We like what? You just said it's a scoregami though. I don't know. He must have AI write his tweets out nowadays.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. You both have said, like this is gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a weird game. Both teams are just not consistent at a level that makes it an easy to predict game. I think I'm gonna go Chargers 23, Eagles 21. I think that I think that like the Chargers inconsistencies I think have been not entirely due, but I think more due to injuries, and they're starting to get some of those guys back. And so I feel a little bit better about them smoothing that part out a little bit more than I feel about the Eagles being able to figure out their identity in 8 days.
Maybe it's just my insecurities as an Eagles fan, but every time he says something about the Eagles, all I hear is, yeah, man, y'all ain't really that good, but I'm gonna be respectful in the way I say it, but y'all ain't really that good, man.
But haven't you heard, Alex? Nick Sirianni's changing the scheme, bro.
Yeah,
changing the offensive scheme,
right.
man.
It's
middle of the season, changing the whole scheme up.
Alex. It's not the middle of the season. It's not. It's past.
Yeah, it's the end of the season. Yeah.
We're
2/3 of the way through the season. Yeah.
Man said, let's scrap everything we did. We're trying something new.
Yeah, full new install. Like
Hey,
we're
to
wiping
his
it all out.
defense.
We're redoing it.
To his
We don't even
defense.
have a bye week, but we're gonna just figure it out. It's gonna be vibes.
Mini bye week. We played on Friday instead of Sunday. We got 2 extra days.
You know, it would. Oh, great! I'm glad this happened because it was almost a podcast without a devil's advocate. To play devil's advocate, he's literally done this before. He's literally scrapped everything that they were doing in the middle of the season and changed the entire offense, and it worked. Will he get this lucky again? I don't know, but 2021 does exist. 2021 does exist.
This is true.
But in terms of this prediction,
that was earlier though, wasn't it? That was like
before anybody. I almost posted a video of that Falcons-Eagles game from week 1 where I'm like, oh man, Nick Sirianni, the play call that gave me so much hope for these 60 minutes, dog. Couldn't tell me nothing,
He was
boy.
airing it out.
Like, this the type of offense I run if I was a coach. Yeah. And then it just like went so bad, so fast, man.
Oh man. What you got, brother?
Anyway, now's the point in time I give you guys a bunch of meaningless stats that probably help somebody put together a parlay later on. But Chargers, winners of 4 of their last 5. They've scored 24 points in 6 of their last 7, whereas the defense has allowed 21 or less in 4 of their last 5. Doesn't give me room for hope. What does give me room for hope is this Chargers team are 1-2 against teams currently slated to make the playoffs. So who are you, Los Angeles Chargers? I don't think Monday is the day we find out. I just think we're going to play a football game because we really don't even know who the Philadelphia Eagles are. So there's that. I'm going to go, obviously, like you guys laid out, it's going to be a close game. I don't see how this Eagles team scores points, but I also don't think the defense will play nearly as bad as they played last week, which, I mean, they were just horrible against the run. Against the pass, they were good. Like, there were a stretch of drives where the Bears couldn't move the ball. Then they remembered that they can run. But I think we see the defense get back to their basic ways. It's going to be an odd game. I'm going to go Eagles 19, Chargers 17. Nick Sirianni goes for some odd 2-point conversion and doesn't get it, and now we got to hope that we keep them out of the field goal range.
I mean, that sounds about right. Oh, a mind-numbing decision mid-game that makes no sense, is completely emotional, and he's going to just cap for it afterwards.
I mean, they're gonna get them. They're gonna jump off sides on a PAT. We got a tush-push opportunity right there, and the ball is gonna come out his hands again. And we're gonna have to talk about for the week, is the tush-push broken? And to be quite frankly, I'd rather talk about is the tush-push broke than this offense.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I would also love to see, that one changeup we saved for what Packers? No,
Buccaneers.
Bucks. Yeah, the one time we used it ever. Well, I guess it like twice we've used it ever. It'd be cool.
They got to commit to the bit right now. They can't pull it out again to the playoffs. They got to commit to the bit, especially because it's going so bad. Like, everybody thinks, oh, so yeah, push is dead.
Maybe you just need one fake to get people they are selling out so much.
Not yet. Yeah, keep selling out until January and then break it.
You keep saying until January, brother. If they go 2-3, they don't even win the division. This is the play.
It will still be a January.
You want to talk about the Jalen Hurts run game? It's because this is the playoffs already. We are actually they need to start playing like they're in the playoffs. Otherwise, it's not. This is win or go home now. Because
the Cowboys are actively losing the football game right now.
Huh?
Right now, as we speak, the Cowboys are actively losing the football game, and you're talking to me about losing the division.
Because have you watched?
They can't lose football games.
Have you watched the Eagles for the last? 2
Yeah,
weeks?
I know. We need to win games, but they cannot
completely
lose
capable
them.
of losing out. They're I could see them losing to the Raiders if they lose this week. I promise you. That's not far off. The way that this team plays, the way that they're just disjointed. They're miserable. Oh my God! See, now you got me going. Do a change up. Do something.
Okay.
Do something. I'm literally poking them with the stick, pushing
the
button.
Them right where
do
we
something.
want them.
Do something, please. Do something.
This is where we were at last year. We were only difference.
No,
is
it was
we're
not
at
this
the
bad.
top of the
No,
NFC.
I'm not letting you gaslight me.
You were just bad. The team wasn't, but you were absolutely this
That's
horrible.
fine. That's fine. But at
So
least
if this is where we're
they had
at
something to hang
this
their hat
point
on.
in the
Well,
year,
I said
I'll
that the
be okay
passing game
with it.
needed to get better. They needed something to hang their hat on. They don't have we're hearing the word identity in week 13. We're hearing we're going to have a new offensive scheme.
We have
in
an
week
identity.
13.
The new scheme is the identity.
I don't want to hear it. This is not like last year. No way. Your calm approach worked last year. I've been hitting the panic button all season for a reason, and now we're seeing it. It's a meltdown. Oh my God. You know what? If Trey Lance plays, you know what this gives me vibes of? Another West Coast trip from 2 years ago. All right. No more to be said against another backup quarterback. There's nothing else to be said. This team can break me again. Do you see what they do?
I hear
Alex,
I
after 2023, man, I got super into Star Wars, dude. Super into Star Wars. Because I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done.
You're like, no more football.
Anymore. Dude, Star Wars lore is still on my YouTube, on my YouTube, breakdown. I got it today. It's like the number 4 thing I watched. Then last year, they bring me back in. They suck me back in. Like, we can do this. And now this year, I wonder what my obsession is going to be this year. I wonder what I'll get hyper fixated on to forget about football because they're intent on breaking me. Buddy, oh my God. I've dealt with enough this year. All right. I got some good momentum today with the Gators coaching staff. I'm happy. I need to leave it there. See, now I'm getting all fired up.
Leaving your heart at?
Hey, bro. 5 games left. Game by game. Breathe.
Dude,
I'm good. Bro.
I'll breathe after I see them finish a game, after I see just something positive. Because I really, honestly, I think the reason I'm crashing out even more now as I'm thinking about this is because I saw Jalen and AJ hug like that during the game. I was like, oh, we're back. I high-fived my brother and I was like, oh, we're back, dude. We're back. And then it all just downhill. But, we've been here for almost an hour and a half. Alex, we appreciate your time. I know we said we'd give you a second to get your plugs in. So why don't you let the people know where they can find you at?
Yeah, absolutely. Best place to find me is probably just on Twitter or whatever they call it now. Alex Katson, same way my name is spelled, Katson is my last name. That'll get you to where you need to go to find all my stuff. You can also go to alexkatson.com, which is my website that has links to all the stuff that I do. I write about the Chargers over at Chargers Wire with USA Today. I also do a Chargers-focused draft show on the Guilty as Charged podcast on YouTube.
I like that.
I write about the Washington Huskies for USA Today. And then I do like national coverage and some draft coverage with Wide Left, which is Arif Hassan's Substack. And then I also have my database company, Football Sheets, over at footballsheets.substack.com. So that is for all of like the pro day tracking data and like the coaching carousel, the transfer portal in a couple of weeks here. All the NFL transactions, all NFL, NCAA, NFL draft, all that stuff is over there. So you can subscribe over on the Substack, and then it gives you access to a database website that has all of that stuff on there as well.
You fill out you're like that. This is like kind of your brainchild. You're filling all of that out.
Yep, I'm tracking the portal, the coaching carousel, the NFL draft, who's declaring for the draft, who's going back. Pro day data, all that stuff. Yeah, all that stuff is on there.
So
dude, good for you. That's the Lord's work. I don't know how. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how you get any sleep. Well, I'm talking about it's been a long week, dude. It's definitely been a longer week for you, man. So I mean, we definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing your time with us and your insight. It was all great. I hope we can get a good Jalen Hurts game for all the Chargers fans out there who are still doubting Uno out there.
Yeah, for the discourse.
His name is Jalen Hurts. He will not be called anything other than Jalen Hurts until he just shows he's proven just called.
Oh, so now we can be like, oh, we're not going to call you by your nicknames, but as soon as I'm like, oh, this team is breaking me, it's like Parth, 5 games. But Pierre, you're not going to stand up.
You can't punt on the season.
You're not going to stand
but
up for.
You can tell them to go stand in the corner and don't come out until you learned your lesson. You can't do that. You beyond that. You're trying to put them out the house.
At least he's talking on the sideline. I got that from Hard Knocks. I was like, hey, that is growth from 2023. 2023, he wasn't talking to anybody. That was like the big issue. Now he's going up and down the sidelines. He's like, I make that play. I was like, yeah, you do, Jalen. Now go make it, please, because I can't watch this again. Please. I really cannot.
As the resident Jalen Hurts guy of the pod, I need my guy to play better, man. I need my guy to play better because it's depressing. It's depressing, and it hurts my brand when he doesn't.
And honestly, that's the thing I'm most mad about is we've staked a lot on the Jalen Hurts success. The Philly Blitz pod, Alex, we've been Jalen Hurts truthers since like day one. So like anytime Jalen Hurts plays bad, it looks bad on us, dude. So if not for you, Jalen, do it for us, man. Do it for us, for the Blitz boys, man. Do it for the Blitz boys. Because I've gotten into too many arguments. I pulled too many receipts after last year for you to just crumble now, man. We can't do that. We can't do that. But this has been a really fun pod. Alex, like we said, really, really appreciate your time. To all 76 of you who joined.
76 got a win at the buzzer.
I thought you were making a 6-7 joke at first, and I was like, it's got to be 6-7. But, do you see the end of the Sixers game?
Wait, who hit the
talking about?
Who hit the
No,
game
I know.
winner?
Did you see the end, though? Did you see the end?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was nuts, dude.
At the
VJ
buzzer. Put back.
And VJ put back, and then Maxey chased down block. My
Oh.
God, that was beautiful. He took off. Maxey's so fast, bro. He was on the bench after the shot, and he took off and still got the block. They were making jokes, though, before we get out of here, that regardless of if Maxey blocked it or not, he would have missed it because it was DeAnthony Melton, who has bricked that layup more times than we can count in our lifetime. So, exciting day. It's going to be an exciting Monday. I love these because you can watch Red Zone all day on Sunday, no stress, and then you'll be miserable on Monday. And Monday's already miserable. So, hey, positive thinking already. But like I said, appreciate everybody who's in here. Make sure you rate, review, listen, 5 stars, all that good stuff. Oh, and before we get out of here, I did want to give a shout out to the 3 people who were the #1 show for on Spotify. I mean, it's 3 people, but damn it, we love you 3 people, man. That's such a good feeling. Like, I'm not even saying that like ironically, like 3 people who go out of their way to listen to 3 guys like us who just like, we're on Twitter and we're like, hey, let's talk about ball. It really means the world to us that you guys have been consistent listeners, and we're top 10 show for 18 people. So those numbers are only going to keep growing. Make sure you share it with people but truly from the bottom of our hearts, we're very thankful for all your support. And with that, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Troy Franklin.
We don't expect you to say it, Alex.
Yeah. He had the courage to pick the Chargers. Most people come on here and they're like, "Oh, I'll pick with the Eagles." I appreciate that, man.
I mean, brother, do you see the way we looked for like a year and a half? We were a house.
I guess that's true. It was like being a Bama podcast and having everybody else come on, and it's like, oh yeah. I guess Bama will win, but
thanks for coming. Anyway, see you guys. Chris Henry Jr. Priest.
This is the longest editing ever.
Right.